What is up, you guys, and welcome to the Upper 90 YouTube soccer channel. In today's video, I go and grade each team how they did in the group stage, so stick around as we dive deeper into each group. For those that know who I am, my name is Mike. I'm a big soccer fan, football in case you're across the pond. Today, like I said, we're talking about giving a grading system for each team. But if you're new to this channel, make sure to like and subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate that. That means a lot to me, so thank you very much. So we're going to start with Group A. Now, with Group A, we had Italy, Wales, Switzerland, and Turkey. Now, let's start with Italy since they won the group. So overall, they were one of the better teams in this group. They didn't let up a single goal. They scored multiple goals in this, and therefore I'm going to be giving them an A+. Now, the reason why is because the team itself looked like they won't be beat by anyone anytime soon, and I think Italy looked really well in this group. They didn't really have too many issues finding the back of the net, especially against Turkey, against Wales, against Switzerland. They looked really solid throughout that time. So again, I'm going to give them an A+ for them. Next on the list is Wales. Now, they finished second in the group, and overall, they did okay. I wouldn't say they were terrible. They weren't great. That's why I think I'm going to give them a B. Not a B+, not a B-, just a straight B. Now, the fact is, when they played some of their games, they looked really good. Aaron Ramsey, one of the top players for Wales. Obviously, Gareth Bale's there too. When those guys are linking up, connecting, they can definitely be an A+ team. But through this tournament so far, they've been fairly average, and therefore I'm going to give them a B. Switzerland, on the next hand, I'm going to give them a B-, just because they did make it to the knockout stage. Therefore, I think they're an okay team, but I don't see them doing really well. And even in their group, they didn't look that confident. They drew against Wales. They obviously beat Turkey, and therefore they're advancing, but Turkey by themselves were not that good. So therefore, like I said, I'm going to give them a B-. And then Turkey, it's hard to say. They were definitely one of those teams going into this tournament as a lot of people's dark horses. They did not show up at all in this tournament, and I'm actually going to give them an F because they did not play at all. They looked really lackluster out on the field. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing. They looked lost and everything. Nothing clicked for this team in this tournament, which is a shame because, again, they had such a young squad. It looked really potential for this team to maybe beat a few teams or at least draw. They were not able to do that, and therefore they get an F for this group stage. Next, we're moving on to Group B. We had Belgium, we had Denmark, we had Finland, and we had Russia. Now, again, we're going to start with the group that won, or the team that won the group, and that is Belgium. I'm going to give them an A+. Just the fact that they were really well gelled and didn't have Kevin De Bruyne in the first game, and he didn't come on until the second game as a sub. So therefore, I think they could have been cruising even more if he had started all three matches. But when he came on, he definitely shifted everything and just turned it up a gear. And Belgium is one of the top teams right now in this tournament. Now, obviously, they are playing Portugal, which could go either way for the round of 16. But overall, Belgium had a really stellar performance in the group. And therefore, again, I'm giving them an A+. Next, we have Denmark. Denmark, it's hard to say just how well they did. Obviously, what happened to Eriksen was a huge factor for this team, losing their star player, their captain, and somehow they were able to rally behind that and win and get out of this group by taking second. And I mean, tip my hat off to those guys because they definitely deserve it. And I'm giving them an A+ as well, because to go through something like that and still get out of the group and win a game, draw a game, and do what they need to do to get out, again, it speaks volume for this team. I'm going to give them an A+ just for that alone. So I think they're doing really good. They play Wales, so again, you never know. They may be able to beat them and move on to the next round, but who knows again with that. Next, we have Finland. Shockingly, Finland did not make it to the knockout. They were very close. They had the 3 points to possibly make it to the next round, but it wasn't enough to make them go into the round of 16. And I'm going to give them a C. Not the fact that they're a really great team. We weren't expecting too much of Finland, but the fact that they were able to almost break into the round of 16 lets you know that they are a team that maybe in the next couple of years can keep building and look a little bit better. And there is room of improvement for this team, but overall, I think they're an average team, giving them a C. And then last, we have Russia. Russia, again, is just like Turkey, that they really just crashed and burned in this tournament. I thought for sure with some of the players that they had, they would do fairly well, but again, they did not. I'm going to give them a D. Just the fact that they were able to get at least a point in this game or in this tournament, I'm going to give them a D because, again, they should have done a lot better, but they did not, and therefore it's not too surprising that they are out of the tournament as well, and therefore they're going to get a D. Next on the group, we have Group C, which is the Netherlands. We had Austria, Ukraine, and North Macedonia. Now, again, we're going to start with the top, which is the Netherlands. Again, another A for this team. I think overall they looked really good. I'm not going to give them an A+ because I think they still have room for improvement in their defense. So overall, I think they looked really well. Some of the players that really stepped up are in the midfield and their forwards. So again, I'm really looking forward to them and seeing how they do in the round of 16. Now, Austria, for them, I'm going to give them a B-. I think they're okay. They have some good players. Like I said, they're a team that really play well together and not so many individual players, which I think is where they are going to have an issue in the round of 16 because no one's really going to step up for this team. Yes, they have David Alaba, but again, I don't think he's really the player to really elevate this team and get them moving forward. And I think overall in the group stage, they did fairly okay, but they could have done better, and that's why I give them that rating. And then we have Ukraine, who happened to make it out of this group and make it to the round of 16. They play Sweden, which again, who knows with that game, that could be really interesting. So for Ukraine, I'm gonna give them a B because again, they're another team that I wasn't too sure what we're gonna expect from them. I think their coach Shevchenko has done really well for this team. Now there's some players on that team too that have been playing pretty well in the Euros, and therefore I think they deserve that grade. And then last, we have North Macedonia. And it's hard to really give them a grade as well because they didn't do fairly well. But again, you have to give them credit for making a tournament, being such a new country and a smaller country to go against some of these teams. They did really start off pretty strong. They had a lead at one point when Pandev scored, but again, they didn't end up winning any games or getting any points, which is sad. But overall, I'm going to give them a C- because I think they still had a lot of heart in this tournament. And who knows, future-wise, this could really be a country that could start getting better and better because I know there's a lot of fundamentals going into the youth, and that could really help this country grow even more and more in the football world. Group D. So in Group D, we had England, we had Croatia, we had Czech Republic, and Scotland. Let's start with England, and I'm probably going to be harsh, but I'm going to give them a C+. Yes, they won the group, but overall, they really underperformed throughout this entire group. The fact that they only scored 2 goals in this whole group just really shows how poor this team's been playing. Yes, they do advance as a #1 seed in their group, but overall, I don't think they showed what they can possibly do. Now, if Jack Grealish keeps playing, that could maybe change for this team, depending on some of the other players that they start stepping up. Looks like Harry Maguire will be starting as well. I think that helps in their defense, so they can keep rising their grading level. But overall, I think a C+ is pretty average for them for right now. Next is Croatia. Croatia is a team that, again, I thought were going to get knocked out because they are a little bit older. Modric is getting a little bit older, but overall, this team did show up in the tournament, and I'm going to give them a B. Just because at first, when they lost that game, their first match, I wasn't too sure if they were just going to slowly fade out and end up losing all their matches. But the fact that they were able to rally around Modric and then get the wins that they needed just shows how good this team can be and how deep they can actually go. Because as we know, they were in the World Cup final back in 2018, so you never know what could happen with this team at the Euros. Next is the Czech Republic. And the Czech Republic, yes, they did fairly well. They also made it to the group stages and then the round of 16. And I think, again, they're a team that could really trouble any other team that they play. They did fairly well against England. I wasn't too sure if they were going to be able to beat them. Ended up only losing 1-0. So again, they're a team that are looking fairly well. And I'm going to give them a B just for being average as well in this group. And then last in the group, we have Scotland. And Scotland's one of the teams that I really was rooting for in this tournament. I had them as one of my dark horses along with Wales. And Scotland just underperformed throughout this entire tournament. They got 1 point throughout their group stage, and therefore I'm giving them an F as well. Because again, they should have done a lot better in this group. And they got their draw against England of all the teams. So if they could have drew against England, they should have been able to draw against Croatia and Czech Republic or even beat them, but they were not able to, and therefore I'm giving them an F. Group E, we had Sweden, Spain, Slovakia, and Poland. Now let's start with Sweden, who actually won the group, which watching them play against Poland in that last game was very entertaining, and I definitely enjoyed that game. And because of that, I'm going to give them an A- just because they've definitely brought the entertainment factor to this tournament. A lot of their players didn't know if they were going to show up or not, but they've definitely showed up for some of these games. And overall, I think Sweden is a pretty good team. They play Ukraine in the round of 16, so I can actually see them beating Ukraine and making it to the quarterfinals. Now, Spain, they got a little bit lucky. I'm not sure what happened in that last game, but they finally showed up in the tournament where they scored 5 goals. And because of that, I'm going to give them a B. Overall, I think they could have done a lot better in this group. They probably should have won it. Having 2 draws in the first 2 games really hindered this team, and they really had to show up for that last game, which they did, scoring 5 goals. But again, they could have done a lot better, so they're going to get a B. And then Slovakia, I'm going to give them a C. I think they could have done a little bit better here as well in this group. Obviously, they did what they needed to do, but again, I think they did fairly okay. They've been a team that's been fairly average throughout this tournament, not really doing too much, not doing too little, and therefore I think C is an average score for them as well. And then last, we have Poland, who are out of the tournament as well. It's hard to see Lewandowski not advance. He's done so much for this country, so much for this team, but the fact it wasn't enough for the team, I'm going to give them a D+. I think they could have done a little bit better, obviously, in this group. I was hoping that they were going to make it out to keep watching Lewandowski, but around him, there's not as many balls getting played to him, not as many talented stars like he has at Bayern Munich, and I think that's an issue, and that's why they weren't able to do as well in this group stage, and therefore I think they deserve that lettering. And then the last group, we have France, we have Portugal, we got Germany, and we got Hungary. Now this was the group of death, which we had no idea what to expect, so my grade's probably going to be a little skewed on this one because any one of these teams could have actually came out of this group on the final day. The fact that France was able to win the group gives them an A in this group because, again, France has so many talented players that, yes, you were expecting them to make it out of this stage, but again, they were playing Portugal, they were playing Germany, and Hungary had a very solid defensive system that they set up in each and every game, and the fact that they drew France and Hungary really showed how good Hungary was actually in this tournament. Now, France, again, I said an A. I think they definitely deserve that. Overall, I see them doing fairly well in this tournament. I see them going at least to the quarterfinals, if not the semis. We'll see what happens from there. Next is Portugal. Portugal have their talisman, Ronaldo. You never want to bet against Ronaldo, and therefore, I give them an A+. Yes, I know it's probably being a little bit ridiculous, being more of a Ronaldo fan. I do love Messi as well, but watching Ronaldo play in this last Euros, he already has 5 goals. I expect him to score some more, even though they are playing Belgium. I'm expecting him to do really well in that game and possibly help Portugal keep moving on in this tournament. And again, I think an A for them is also fair to give them. Germany, yeah, it's hard to say what I'm going to give for Germany. I think they deserve a C- because they barely squeaked by. Yes, they absolutely demolished Portugal in their game, but they lost to France with an own goal, and they barely drew against Hungary, which Hungary was almost advancing due to that fact. And the fact that Germany itself just, I don't know what was going on with them, couldn't find the back of the net until at the end of the game, shows how struggling this team is. Yet if they are clicking and get everything moving in the right direction, they're a team that should be a big threat to any team, and they're playing England in the round of 16, and therefore I think Germany will win that game as well. And then last, we have Hungary, which overall I thought they did fairly well in this tournament. They definitely showed what they're capable of. Again, drawing against France. They did fairly well against Portugal, even though they lost. And then they came close to beating and drawing to Germany. So that shows how well this team was. And I'm actually going to give them a C because I think overall they did a fairly decent job in the group stage. So that is all I have for you today on grading all the teams. Comment down below what you think on the grading system. If you think some teams got graded a little bit harsh or a little bit too easy, I want to know what you think on all those teams. So give me the grades on the teams that you thought deserved all the A's, all the B's, all the C's, the D's, and the F's. So again, if you are new to this channel, make sure to like and subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate that. That means a lot. So we will see you next time.